What if Barry Sanders never retired in 1999? This is a theory that no one has ever talked about that I know of, and when I looked into it, oh my god, it was incredible how much the fortune changed for the Lions in the late 90s into the aughts. How much would it change? Well, we're going to find out. This is going to be exciting. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if? An NFL theory. Barry Sanders was a Hall of Fame running back that played his entire career with the Lions from 1989 to 1998. At the height of his career, going into 1999, he already rushed for over 15,200 yards, which he was second all-time in rushing yards, and he was not only on track to beat Walter Payton's all-time rushing record, but easily set himself up for 20,000 yards possibly. Or at least put himself into contention to be the number one all-time rusher to beat Emmitt Smith's record in the future. He was one touchdown short of 100 total career touchdowns. He rushed for 2,000 yards in 1997, and his career season average was over 1,500 yards. He was indeed, at the time, the best running back in the league. But then, to the stunning surprise of the entire league, going into the training camp of 1999, Barry Sanders suddenly retired. And that really put a damper on the Lions. The next 2 years, they stayed around 500. Although they made the playoffs in 1999, it didn't mean much. And then in 2001, the Matt Millen regime began. And of course, the Lions would never again have any sort of success until the early 2010s. But what if Barry Sanders did not retire? So let's get into that. So it's July of 1999, and Barry Sanders comes to training camp to get ready for the 1999 season. But don't get twisted though, he is going to retire. He's going into his age 31 year, and age 31 is getting up there in age for running backs. And I mean, he's going to regress quickly. But I did not know exactly when he was going to retire. I had to do a lot of research into this. I had to compare him to other Hall of Fame running backs, and I had to compare him to the other elite running backs of his time in the 90s into the aughts. So, what I came to the conclusion is Barry Sanders will play until either 2001 or 2002, depending on how he is playing and maybe how the Lions are doing. So, this theory is going to go for at least 3, possibly 4 years. And based upon the trends, how he did and other running backs have done when they're near retirement, that's how many yards he'll be getting each year. But going into 1999, the Lions, of course, that year, they were 6-2, and then they were 8-4 at one point. At that point in the season, at 8-4, they had first round bye up in grabs, and they beat the Rams that year too, so they were within one game of getting home field advantage. But unfortunately for them, the Lions regressed. They lost the remaining games, finished 8-8, and then lost to the Redskins in the wild card round, which would be the last time the Lions make the playoffs until 2011. But the main reason why the Lions were so bad that year is that they didn't have a running game. In fact, they had one of the worst running games that year in the NFL because they didn't have Barry Sanders. But guess what? With Barry, that's going to dramatically change, as now the Lions have one of the most potent offenses in the league in 1999, and the Lions jump up to 12-4 and look scary going into the playoffs. Barry Sanders himself would rush for at least 1,500 yards, which will give him an all-time total now of 16,700 yards, which would be right on the cusp, if not finally over Walter Payton, which would make him the number one all-time leader in rushing yards. Plus, he would get over 100 touchdowns career total. So in the updated 1999 standings, nothing changes on the AFC side. The NFC changes a lot, as the Lions now have the number 2 seed. The Buccaneers fall all the way down to the 5th seed, and the Cowboys fall to the 6th seed. The first game we had to look into is the Redskins now visiting the Lions instead of the Buccaneers. Now, the Redskins did visit the Lions that year, and in fact, the Lions got their last win of the regular season against the Redskins, and then the Redskins would get the revenge when they beat them in the wild card round a month later. And the thing about that game, when they beat them in the regular season, the Lions had just 31 rushing yards. Guess what? They're going to get 100 yards off of Barry Sanders. And that would put the Lions in a better position to maybe get a passing touchdown, or maybe he would get a touchdown too. So guess what? Even though they lost to him in the wild card round, this time around, they're going to beat him in this game. And the Lions now visit the Rams in the conference championship. As, how about that? This could be an offensive shootout between the Lions and the greatest show on turf. Now remember, the Lions did beat the Rams that year. They gave the Rams one of their 3 losses. And in that game, the Lions once again only got 21 rushing yards. So Barry Sanders definitely would help him there. But I think on the road, I think the Rams would still hold on to get, especially since the Lions don't have the defense like the Buccaneers did. So in the end, the results of the Super Bowl still remain the same. So now we're going into 2000. Of course, Barry Sanders and the Lions just fell short of making it to the Super Bowl in 1999 and looking forward to making it there in 2000. Now in the 2000 draft, the Lions did get a running back, and he was pretty solid, got 1,000 yards rushing, and the Lions did once again, just like last year, had a really good start, and they went 8-4 once again, but at the end of the year, they fell apart. They went to 9-6, and the final week of the season, all they had to do was beat the Bears at home and then get into the playoffs, but unfortunately they choked it and missed the playoffs, which would be their last win season until 2011. But, and of course, Barry Sanders would once again have another 1,500-yard season, which would put his grand total now of over 8,200 total yards, which would now definitely make him all-time rushing leader. But the Lions would take a little bit of a step back as they now finish 11-5. And in the updated 2000 standings, the Lions and Vikings swap places as the Lions now have first round bye once again, and the Vikings missed the playoffs. So the Lions are now the team that's hosting the Saints. The Saints and Lions played each other in week 1 down in New Orleans. The Lions won that one, the close one. But I think the Lions would probably do the exact same result almost as the Vikings did to the Saints. Blow them out, as the Lions once again make it back to the conference championship, this time at the Giants. And this is another rematch from real life. The Giants got their last loss of the regular season against the Lions, hosting them in a spanking, and that would be the catalyst for them to go undefeated the rest of the season. And here's the crazy thing about it. The Lions, on the road, beat the Giants by 10 points with no rushing yards. Just like the last 2 games I talked about, they had no rushing yards in this game. So think of it. The Lions, on the road, against the soon-to-be runner-up for the Super Bowl, beating them by 10 points with no running game? Can you imagine what would happen if Barry Sanders was on that team? I think we know exactly what happened. The Lions would beat the Giants, and the Lions would now be in the Super Bowl for the first time ever. But it's not going to be easy for them, as they will have to play the Ravens. Not only the #1 defense in the league and all time, they had the #1 rush defense at the time. They allowed only 980 total rushing yards in that game. They would have their hands full, the Lions would, against the #1 defense in the league. And they would do their best to stick to Barry Sanders, but unfortunately, I think the Ravens would shut him down pretty good. The Ravens would start to take control, and I think the Lions, unfortunately, would begin to fall apart like the Giants did in that game, and the Ravens would still go on to win this. Then we go into 2001, and Barry Sanders, of course, is ready to come back. Now, of course, the Lions in 2001, they fell off a cliff. They started off 0-12 before they finished 2-14, which was their worst record since 1979, I believe it was. And the Lions, of course, would fall off a cliff to start off 2001. Their offense and defense is bad. Barry Sanders is not getting anywhere in terms of rushing attack. But near the middle part of the year, the Lions dramatically turn around. The defense plays better, and Barry Sanders plays a much better too. He ends up just getting 1,000 yards this time around, which would now give him a career total of 19,200 yards, which would officially make him out of reach of Emmitt Smith, which would mean Barry Sanders would now be the all-time leading rusher in this series. And the Lions, after starting off 0-4, would turn it around to finish 9-7. And in the updated 2001 stands, the Lions' dramatic turnaround affects the series in the NFC as the Packers now get first round bye, as the Bears fall to the 4th seed, and the Lions manage to get in as the wild card in the 6th seed. The Lions would visit the Eagles the first week, but of course the Eagles were just a really good team at that point. I think they would fall apart like the Buccaneers. The Lions would lose that, and in the end, nothing would change the outcome of the Super Bowl this year. It's now the 2002 draft, as Barry Sanders would still stick around for the Lions going into 2002, thinking that they have one more chance still at a title. But a lot of things would change for the Lions going into 2002. Since they had a dramatic performance increase in 2001, they no longer have a high enough pick to get Joey Harrington. So, where does Joey Harrington end up at? He would go to the Bengals this time around. And the Lions, of course, would stick with Charlie Batch, and they probably would re-sign him for a long-term deal since he still was playing pretty good, especially with Barry. He might play better, preventing him from being the Steelers' backup for the next decade. So then we go into 2002, and the Lions do play better with Barry, but it won't really matter much, as he would only rush for about 800 yards, which would give him a grand total of just slightly over 20,000 yards rushing as he would do it. He would rush for 20,000 yards. Incredible. But the Lions continue to regress, as this time they finished 7-9, their first losing season since 1998. Meanwhile, for the Bengals, nothing would change with Joey Harrington as their starter, as they still finished 2-14. And in the end, nothing changes in the 2002 stands, as the Super Bowl outcome doesn't change. After 2002, Barry Sanders would finally retire, playing for 13 years in the series, as he would rush for over 20,000 yards, which would keep him, as of today, if this was real, he would be the all-time leading rusher, edging out Emmitt Smith by almost 2,000 yards. And of course, he would have over 100 rushing touchdowns. He would have an incredible Hall of Fame career, although he would have to wait till 2008 before he can get in. It would be well worth it. And the Lions would dramatically improve as well. In this 4-year stretch, they would make the playoffs 3 times out of 4 instead of 1 appearance. And they would make it to 2 conference championships, which they never did, and made the Super Bowl. Incredible. Now, of course, who knows what would happen going into 2003? Will they still continue to regress? Or since they did not get Joey Harrington, maybe going into 2004, since I'm sure they would still have Batch as their starter in 2003, maybe the Lions could get one of the quarterbacks in 2004, possibly. And of course, we gotta also mention this would actually have major implications too, as the Bengals, now they have Joey Harrington, they have the number 1 overall pick in 2003. They have no reason to draft Carson Palmer, as they got Joey Harrington, so Palmer is going to go somewhere else, and that's going to have major implications for the league over the next 15 years. But hey, it's just a theory, an NFL theory. Thanks for watching. I was so looking forward to talking about this one, and the next one too coming up, also involving something else related to 1999. Oh man, I cannot wait to talk about that, as that's going to be a very interesting one, and it's a rare change in a draft that actually helped and benefited both teams. But we'll have to wait till next time before I talk about it. So see you guys then. Oh boy, I cannot wait to talk about that one though. It's going to be great.